Hi, I'm Bobby Linkamer, and I'd like to introduce you to some of the wonderful authors I've had the privilege of working with on the books that follow in this presentation. Amazing Journey started out as a Holocaust memoir and ended up as a coming-of-age story of a remarkable woman who went from being a hidden child to being named Woman of Valor by her synagogue at the age of 70. Beyond the Ice Cream Cone by Pam Vaccaro debunks a lot of the stories we've heard about food at the 1904 World's Fair. For example, the ice cream cone was not invented there. MS is a serious disease that caused Lori Wolfe to go from being a healthy young woman to a quadriplegic in a very short time. But this book is not a downer. It's a practical guide for how to live with MS. Only 100 copies of Celebrating Lincoln's Legacy were printed, and the story of why the book was not more widely distributed is almost as interesting as the book itself. Crash and Burn is an expose of the FAA, but everything in it is in the public record if people only knew where to look for it. If you want to plan your wedding on a budget, this is the ebook that will help you do it. There is not a possible way to save money that isn't included in this valuable resource. Corinne Richardson passed away after she wrote this and one other book. This one is practical, fun, and a great way to mix and match a wardrobe that will take you anywhere you want to go. Liz Maloney did a lot of digging into her past and her feelings to write this book. It's a serious look at how one young woman spent many years trying to find and become herself. David English went to Argentina to start a business. Then he gathered other expat entrepreneurs around him and started an organization. This is the story of 10 of these successful new business owners in a foreign country. Julie lost her husband, not to cancer, but to a motorcycle accident after he had survived chemotherapy. It's a love story and a reflection on how she recovered from her tragic loss. Dale Fogarasi ran out the back door while the communist police were coming in the front door of his home in Budapest, Hungary. This is the story of his new life in America. A Guide to the Birds of North Andros Island by Joseph Steensma and Nicholas Morgan is the culmination of years of field research. It's an indispensable guide for anyone who is serious about birds and also likes to be entertained. Dr. Bhupendra Khatri is head of an MS clinic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He practices good old-fashioned hands-on medicine. Here he shares stories of the miracles he has experienced with his patients as they fought their way through their diseases with the power of a positive attitude. Pat Bond is one of the many young women who were seduced by Catholic priests and had a child out of wedlock. This book really pulls back the curtain on a bad situation in this country and all over the world. Mike Farlow believes that leaders are not born, they are made, and making them requires skills. Dr. Barlow shares 40 important skills that leaders must have. Mood Blitz is about bipolar disorder and a young woman who spent 40 years of her life experiencing this disease, but wasn't diagnosed until she was in her 20s. The author explains her illness in terms of its effect on every aspect of her life and how she continues to prevail. Motherhood Calling is a delightful reminiscence of the 6-year break that Linda Anderson Little took from the ministry to have and raise her 3 children. It is a personal, insightful, and very humorous look at parenthood. My Life Matters by Babette Kyle, Laura Thake, and Cecilia George is not a typical planning calendar. It is a personal planner for women that helps them remain centered and in charge of turning their intentions into action. Sister Mary Jean Ryan was the first CEO of the system of hospitals whose search for quality eventually earned them the President's Malcolm Baldrige Award for Excellence. SSM Healthcare was the first healthcare organization to ever win this award. Felicia Graber, who wrote Amazing Journey, translated and transcribed 6 hours of her father's recollections of his experiences in the Holocaust. Then she and her brother wrote a touching book called Our Father's Voice. There are a lot of things they don't teach you in school about becoming a counselor. Ready, Set, Counsel by Joan Hoffman spills the secrets about everything you didn't learn as a graduate student. Rock Your City by John McCulloch is a great guidebook to promoting your rock band in your own hometown. While it is kind of a departure from most of the books I've worked on, it is really fascinating and fun. The Fourth Branch of Government by Jack Trammell and Guy Terrell takes an eye-opening look at what's wrong with our democracy today and what we can do to fix it. The authors propose a national conversation about e-voting, defining congressional roles, and expanding citizen participation in making laws. The fourth branch of government, therefore, would be made up of we, the people. The Global Procurement Leader's Handbook is not for everyone. Written by 2 experts in this field, it is intended for executives who really know the lingo and their way around procurement in companies that do business internationally. Joe Scherer got his training and learned his leadership skills in the Air Force and applies some of the most unusual lessons he learned in the service to this really strong book on how leaders are forged. This is a fairy tale book for adults. It's a small book, but it's about discovering your real self. Actually, I think it would be a great fairy tale book for children as well. Let me close with a few words about me. I am a book coach, ghostwriter, editor, and author. I have written for magazines, corporations, small companies, and nonprofits. I've taught writing and have an online course on how to write, publish, and promote a nonfiction book. I am really excited to have worked with the talented authors whose books you have just seen. Thanks so much for watching this presentation. If you have the opportunity to read any of these books, I highly recommend them.